The next tip to activating your divine feminine energy is to watch what you eat. Watch what you eat. So there's a saying that you are what you eat, and that is literally true, guys. If you're eating unhealthy, it eventually affects your body. Like the things we eat, the things that we feed our bodies, it affects our hormones. And ultimately, our hormones affect our body. It affects how we feel. It even affects our behaviors to a degree. It affects the quality of our lives in general and our performance in different areas of our life. So it all circles round what you eat. So guys, you are what you eat. You need to pay vivid attention to what you eat. So someone is probably wondering, what does divine feminine energy has to do with what I eat? Now, let me bring you back to the beginning. And if you've watched my former video, you would understand what I'm about to explain to you. So we're talking about energy, right? We're talking about a spirit. We're talking about the spirit that is meant to be your natural default spirit. We're talking about embodying it, right? So we're talking about you embodying a healthy version of your feminine spirit, hence the divine feminine energy. So the divine feminine energy is kind of like an upgrade from your current spirit. The truth is, if you have an unhealthy body, you cannot welcome a healthy spirit into an unhealthy body, because the unhealthy body is going to prevent that spirit from staying. You know, it's just like the concept of the Holy Spirit, right? You've been baptized, you've done all of these things. Like I've heard Christians say that, you know, after they've been baptized and all of that, it means they are saved, which is actually true. But the thing is, if you go back to living your former spoiled and corrupt and sinful life, the Holy Spirit is going to depart from you. You know, it happened to many great men in the Bible, right? They were filled with the Holy Spirit, and a certain lifestyle that they did, you know, a certain life that they lived, it did not, because the thing with spirits, with energies, is that for them to stay in a body, you need to meet the requirement of that energy, because every energy, you know, they dwell in a state of a frequency. So for the Holy Spirit to come into you, you need to be in a certain frequency. Is just the same way as to bring in a healthy divine feminine or divine masculine energy. It requires your body to be in a form, in a state that it can receive that energy and keep that energy within you. So there was this thing that I learned in this movie, The Conjuring, I think part 1. Yeah, I remember very correctly. It was in part 1, because that part of the film really drew my attention. So in that part, I think the pastor, no, not the pastor, I think the priest, or I think the man who actually performs the exorcism stuff with his wife, the main actor of the movie. So there was this scene where he was delivering a lecture to some students. I believe they're probably students of like that the institution of people who perform exorcism and deliverance and all of that. So he was delivering a certain lecture to them about how demonic possessions take place, and that place really drew my attention. So he talked about 3 phases of that demonic possession. I cannot remember what he called each phases, but I think the first phase, he said that the first phase basically involves the demon creating certain realities, creating certain scenarios that catches the attention of the victim, who is the target in this case. So from that catching your attention, it eventually evolves into the next phase of, you know, trying to build a stronghold. So now you've seen things that you probably shouldn't see or stuff like that has gripped your attention, and then I've forgotten how it explains that stage. But in that scene, he explained how, you know, when a human being is a target to a demon, the demon basically prepares that person to be possessed. So the possession doesn't just happen once like that. It prepares you. It prepares you through, it takes you through different phases through which it enters your body. And at the same time, there are certain bodies that, these spirits cannot enter because that demonic spirit, the demonic spirits are on a different frequency. The Holy Spirit is on its own frequency of divinity. When they want to, possess you, it starts to do things, it starts to perform certain tricks in front of you that kind of brings you down to, its own frequency level. And it is until you become a vibrational match to that spirit, that is when the possession basically takes place. So I see that as a form of priming, as a form of preparing your body. So if that example doesn't work, there was also like there's a story of there was actually a time long ago when I was in high school, when I was still like back, okay, not in high school, actually middle school, primary school for us Africans. So I was in primary school, and we used to have this thing called inter-house sports, which is like a sports competition between different houses within a school. So we used to have like blue house, green house, yellow house, and red house. So I was in yellow house. I was in yellow house at the time, and there was this particular girl that normally does the long distance race for yellow house. And on this fateful day, she wasn't feeling very well, so she could not run. So I was one of the tallest girls in my house. So our leader, our team leader that day, she was looking for the tallest girls who could easily represent the girl who has been our race champion for all the past years, until that day that she could no longer run. So our team leader, the captain of our house, was then, looking at all of us to see who are the tall girls who are capable of running. So I personally didn't like running. So I always, I never volunteered to run. So on this day, I could not dodge. She pointed at me and she was like, okay, me, I'm very tall. I have long legs, so I should be able to run. And I was like, I don't like running and stuff like that. So she was not like, I'm tall, I can run. And she then convinced me that the girls that I'll be running against, they're actually short girls. So I have an advantage, right? I have an advantage. Okay, so I thought, okay, that is consoling enough. I could try at least. I'm quite confident that I won't take the last position. So I decided to try, and then it was time for the race. We all got into our respectful position, different arrangements and all of that. So when the race started, I was quite confident, So I felt like, okay, I would either take maybe first or second. Nobody told me, nobody prepped me, nobody told me that for you to run, you require energy. You need to generate energy inside you. And that energy, right? Your body needs to be at a capacity where it can hold that energy. I did not know that. At this point, I did not know that. So when it was time to run and I started running, and halfway through the race, my goodness, I felt like my heart nearly gave out. What is going on? My physical body could not hold the energy that I was trying to generate. So I started running. At first, in the beginning of the race, I was in front. So I was kind of relieved that, okay, I am topping the girls now. They're all behind me. And then before you know it, the shortest one amongst them just came and overtook me. Then before you know it, another one came and overtook me. I was now the third person on the race, right? So now I'm trying to catch up with the first two that are already in front of me. I'm like, I can do this. I have longer legs, so therefore I have an advantage over them. So I was trying to run. I was trying to overtake them. It got to a point, guys, I could literally hear my body telling me, girl, if you dare go beyond this point, you're going to die here today.
A few moments later.
So the next tip to activate your divine feminine energy is to perform rituals. Yes. I know what someone is thinking. You're probably thinking that I'm talking about, nah, I'm not talking about that kind of ritual, okay? I am not referring to that kind of ritual that you're probably thinking of. So, what I mean by perform rituals is because rituals are like the final stage through which you kind of promote and honor the energy that you're trying to embody. So rituals are also, think of rituals as, spiritual vitamins that enable the energy that you want to embody to grow. It promotes and enables growth for that energy as well. Energy is also a living concept. It's not just a thing. It is something that has its own unique personality and characteristics, right? So for this energy to feel at home in your body, to want to remain and to want to continue to stay faithful to you and remain within your energy field, you need to perform certain rituals in order to promote that energy, in order to honor that energy within yourself. And some of these rituals that I'm talking about are just simply activities that promote or honor that energy in you. So the different types of activities that honors the divine feminine energy in a person are activities that are tailored towards the frequency of submission, the frequency of nurture, and this frequency of creativity. These are the main characteristics of the feminine energy. So you want to embody the feminine energy. So you need to look for activities that kind of marries together these characteristics. So in terms of the submission, you want to look for an activity that requires you to engage in something that is larger than yourself. For instance, activities like humanitarian services or voluntary community service work. These are, a kind of service work that actually promotes the divine feminine energy, or, service to your significant other, service to your family, like, things like cooking, things like nurturing, things like taking care of people, things like taking care of sick people, just basically activities that you don't necessarily benefit from, you don't benefit anything of substance from, but you're doing it, because you're expressing nurture, you're expressing that nurturing side. And it is also something that is very divine, to give yourself to a cause that is greater than yourself without expecting anything in return. Service, it is a divine quality, and it is also an activity that promotes the feminine energy, even in like the religious atmosphere, right? When a person becomes serious in their walk with God, there is a level that requires you to participate in some form of service. And if you're not participating in some form of service, then you can't grow. Like, you cannot have a personal relationship with God, like, throughout your walk in this life, and not have, and not at some point consider some form of service. So that form of service is a ritual that helps to promote the Spirit of God in you. It helps to promote and honor the Spirit of God that is working in you. So that is a form of a ritual. So the same thing for the feminine energy, it requires you to perform activities. And these are activities, these are vitamins. So vitamins, you don't necessarily have to take vitamins every day, but you need them frequently. You need them for growth. You need to take them. So these are activities that it cannot just be a once in a time thing. It cannot just be something that you do whenever you feel like it, and when you don't feel like it, you don't do it. It's something that you should I would suggest perhaps having like a systematic approach to it, like a period when you do it, So, or it can also be a daily thing, doesn't really matter. But the key word there is it has to be frequent, because it is highly essential in feeding that energy that you're trying to embody. So service is one side of it. There's also the creativity side of it. And for that creativity aspect, it can be, you engaging in creative activities like carpentry or pottery or painting or writing or sketching. These are creative activities. You don't have to be perfect in it. You're just having a medium through which you express your creativity is a very feminine thing, because it is like the act of bringing an abstract idea to life, right? It is the act of bringing something from a non-physical dimension into the physical dimension. It is a creative process. It is a feminine activity. So that is also one other part. That is also another very important activity for you to engage in. And there are also so many other examples, but these are the ones that I can think of right now. So these rituals are very important. It is left for you to think of the specific activity that you can start right now, and you can just start from there. But it is important that you engage in these activities in order to promote your divine feminine energy. As a feminine woman who is trying to step up to a divine feminine energy state of being, there are just certain things that you have to be doing, because it is a womanly thing. It is a ladylike thing. You need to compose yourself in a ladylike way. So there are certain activities that when you do, it kind of, it reminds you of the fact that you are a woman. Like it just reminds you of that fact that you are, you have a fragile vessel. Things like, even like self-care, like going on spa, even if it's not an expensive spa or it is just at home spa that you're doing, you should have some form of beauty ritual. You should have a form of beauty ritual, a form of purification ritual, because as a woman, you're also like a healing vessel. You're meant to be a place of peace for your man. And that also requires you to perform some sort of cleansing ritual for yourself, just for your own mental health. Because if you're going to be a soft, safe, sweet, flourishing space for your man, you also need to be able to cleanse yourself from negativities from outside, the stress from the outside world, and all of that from the external world, so that by the time your man comes home and your children comes home, they get to experience the soft, peaceful, and loving side of you. So it is important that you also have a form of beauty ritual that is good, that really makes you feel good just for yourself. So yeah, rituals are very important. Rituals are really, really important, and it is definitely something that you should consider doing. Okay, so the last but not the least, this is not really a tip. So this is more like a philosophy that I feel is very, very important to live by if you are in the journey of trying to activate your divine feminine energy. So this is a philosophy that I have tried, okay? I have tried to live by, and it has really helped me greatly in not just this specific area of my life, but also in other aspects as well. And this is a philosophy that I got from the legendary fighter, philosopher, actor, and father, Bruce Lee. So I've been a huge fan of Bruce Lee since I was a little girl. I do not even know why, but I've always been attracted to, his fighting, his movies, his teachings, and all of that. There was just something so, masculine. There was something so intimidating and powerful, and at the same time philosophical and divine about that guy. So I was really, really attracted to him when I was young. So there's this philosophy that he always talks about, and that is be like water.
This is what it is, okay? I said empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
You know, this is why I used water as an element to describe the behavior of the feminine energy, because that is just what it is. It is like water, and that is so important, right? So be like water. What that means is, you know, build reflexes. All of these tips that I have mentioned, from the first to the last, these are tips that you should really follow, you know, step by step, and you should be intentional about them. You should practice them religiously, because as you practice them religiously, as it becomes a part of you, that is you building reflexes, that is you building your capacity. Remember the example that I gave about me not having the capacity to embody the energy that is required for me to run, you know, a race, right? So when you're in your stage of building capacity, you know, that is a different phase. And the first tips that I mentioned, the first few tips that I mentioned before this one, is like the first phase. That is the phase of building capacity. That phase is like the exercising phase. That is the preparation phase. Now, this point that I'm talking about, this particular tip that I'm talking about right now, is more or less like the manifestation phase. This is the first stage of the manifestation phase, which requires, you know, you've built your reflexes in the past. Now, to be like water is basically saying to just let go and flow. Just flow, get out of your headspace and just be in the space of your embodiment, the space of, you know, sensitivity, your flow. Like, be like water. Don't be rigid. Don't hold on to anything, because at this point you've practiced, and it has gotten to a point where it has become you. You have become that person. So this is a phase where you let go. In the phase where you let go, this is where the final phase of attraction happens. That is why you have to let go, because if you're always in your head that, okay, so I'm going through this situation right now, how will a divine feminine woman maneuver the situation? When you keep doing that continuously, you become obsessed with it. And from my experience, when you're obsessed with something, you end up not attracting that thing, really. Like, you cannot be obsessed with something good. So you just need to let go at some point. You know, you've done your work, you've said your prayer, you've made your visions, you've done all of that. Just let go. Just flow. Just flow, because at this point, your body, your mind, your frequency, they already know what to do. They already know how to get you into that feeling, into that embodiment. So you do not have to be so rigid, because to be rigid is to be in your headspace. So to flow like water is to get out of your headspace, okay? Yeah, so this is me flowing like water. In my first previous videos, like my early videos on my channel, you'll notice that I was speaking fast, and sometimes I still do that. Like when I'm not fully prepared for the video, or I don't feel prepared, or I am rushing due to, you know, certain inconvenience happening behind the scenes, right? So I tend to rush, but right now I am not rushing. I am in my state of flow. I am in my state of, you know, I am in the water state, and I'm just here gliding through this topic with you guys, and it feels really, really good, okay? So be like water. So when you're being put into a cup, your flow should be so fluid that you become the cup. When you're being put into a teapot, your flow should be so fluid that you become the teapot. What that means is, do not let the external environment, your external environment, to mold you into what you're not. But instead, you should flow. You know how water enters a teacup? It still maintains, it still holds every element of its body. It does not scatter. It does not, it moves. It just flows around it. So that is like blending in a way that you do not lose yourself, in a way that you do not lose who you are. So you become so fluid and so flexible that even the external does not really have any major effect in you. So that is a very, very wonderful quality. So yeah, that is just a philosophy that I live by, and I think that it is going to help some persons in this journey. So if you relate to that, well, good. If you don't, well, you can just keep the first few tips that I mentioned before this particular tip. So yeah, guys, that is it. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like it and of course share it so that this can go mainstream and it can reach someone that needs this message in their lives. Also, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and don't forget to turn on my post notification bell icon. And yeah, one last thing. So if you have any questions concerning this video, feel free to drop that in the comment section. If you're going through your divine feminine energy journey, please share with us how your journey is going so far. I will be excited to chat with you and also maybe learn a thing or two from you, like how has your journey been so far. So please leave a comment in the comment section. And once again, thank you so much for watching this video up until the end, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.